Really excited to be here today. This is actually my first talk after becoming a Google developer expert for Flutter and Dart. Okay. So I hope you take away something today. I have worked hard on this presentation. I've scanned all the resources that were there around theming in Flutter, and I want to make a good experience for you. A little bit about me before we dive right into it. So I am working as developer advocate at 100ms. We are a live audio video company, so we help you add audio video calling and live streaming into your Flutter apps or any other apps for that matter. I'm also a content creator, so I've been creating YouTube videos. If you know me from YouTube, you would know, I also have a community of Flutter developers. We are close to 2,000 members on Discord. I saw someone, he told me he was on my Discord. That was really cool. Thank you so much. Yeah. So today we'll be talking about theming. We'll start off, why we need it, what is a design system, and how do we translate it into your Flutter application. So this is the whole gist of the presentation. So we have our Flutter apps. They look basic, very bad, and we want to add colors to it. So we want to make it more vibrant. Maybe add a tint of pink there and make it look much better. We want to have components that go along that users can view and use, and that is where a design system comes in. So generally, you would have a designer come in and they will give you something sort of like this is a basic design system. It would have these brand colors, these components that you want to add. There would be button colors, a way that these components should look, and it's generally used to keep that consistency across applications. So this is like a very basic design. Like this is taken from the Airbnb design website. They have like really good blogs, and if you can, you should check this out. So they have an article on building a visual language. They want their customers, to have a consistent experience, and they have a bunch of these things built out for their visual language. So as Flutter developers, we don't really care about designs, but when you're working for a company, you'll be approached by a designer. They would say like, okay, I want this, and then it would be on to you to do that in your Flutter application, and that is where I would help you achieve that. This is again from Airbnb's website. What they have written is like we need to ship products on a multitude of platforms, and so to keep that synchronization, it is important. The same things are not repeated across platforms. That is why theming and building out these components beforehand is really important. So in Flutter, as Flutter developers, you might be accustomed to Material, which is the design language by Google. It's open source. And as of Flutter 3.16 release, this was also at the start of this event. Material 3 is Flutter's default theme. And similarly, for Apple, there's HIG, Human Interface Guidelines, which is like the best practices for what you want to do when you're building applications for Apple's iOS platform, Mac OS, or Watch OS. So all of these guidelines are covered in HIG. There's Material, which is for like Android and all other platforms generally. So if you run a desktop app, it would also run Material on it. Like if you have a Material app there, which is weird because your customers might not be accustomed to that on the desktop platform as such. So generally, when you're starting out an application, you would see at the start of it, like you either specify a Material app, a Cupertino app, but there is also another which is called Widgets app, which we wouldn't be covering in this presentation as such, but it is important to know like there is a third one there, the Yoda meme, I think. So we'll be talking about Material in general today in this presentation. We'll be covering that in depth. Why? Because Flutter is built on this aggressive composability. So your design system library should be too. Because you would have seen like you have all these widgets that are built on top of other widgets inside Flutter. So you want your applications to have a design system that is built on top of this Material design language to both make it easier for any other developers to start out with it, and also to like have a good experience across applications. So as developers, we are writing code also like not only for our customers, but also for other developers who would maintain that. So that is really important. Here I have an example, which uses a custom button theme, and then you add a style from to it, and like any other developer checking this out would be confused as such, like where is this custom button coming from? How do I, how do I know like what is happening here? It's generally recommended to have like the inbuilt Flutter themes and use those themes. So I'll be talking about that. Like this is just a code snippet. This is not as such a not recommended by Flutter team. Like no, do this, but this is like a good practice to have. Also, I talked about material design at the last event. It was an online talk, but I'm happy to be back here in person and be talking about Flutter material design again, and this time more in depth with theme extensions covering a lot of these topics in person. So let's dive right into it. We'll be talking about custom theming. To start right off, it all begins at theme data. This is the Flutter framework giving you theme data to customize the overall experience of your material app. So you have a bunch of properties that you can modify, and you can do that simply by going to the theme data when you are specifying material app and changing the properties there. So this material app theme can be used to configure the experience or the visual appearance of your whole application. As of Flutter Material 3, inside your color scheme, you have almost 30 colors that you can modify, and a bunch of these come like this: primary, on primary. What would, like, if primary color is the base, what color would work on top of it? Let us say your button gets the primary color, so you want like an on primary to be a lighter shade, so the text on top of it is visible. And color scheme property is the only way to define colors in Flutter. The color scheme property in theme data define these color values for the active theme. And with introduction of Material 3, it becomes the correct way to add colors to your Flutter application. So inside your theme data, you can specify this color scheme. So you'll type in theme data and then pass it a color scheme. It would create that unified color scheme for all of your application to use. An easier way to do this, when you do not know much about colors, is to just use color scheme dot from seed. You'll give it a primary color and then it would do the rest. It would create all those 30 colors that you want to use inside your Flutter application. That would be consistent with the guidelines of Material 3. So if this doesn't make sense, let's also look at it once with code. So what would happen is, it would take your single color that you have passed, it would make all these auxiliary colors, and then inside your Flutter application, it would add them to where they are required. So let us say, your floating action button would get a particular shade, and depending on that, other components would get a particular shade of color. So this single seed color would become the source that would generate this palette of different colors. It's very beautiful. Like, you can check out the Material 3 guidelines once. Like, it was a good read when I went through that yesterday. But we'll talk about theme data. I will talk about in terms of a Flutter developer. So if I create a Flutter application, I generally do like with the empty flag. So it would come up with something like this. It would have that material app widget at the center of it. And then you can specify like wherever you want to take it, like home screen, that you can create in a separate file, but that is for later. So it looks something like this if you do a Flutter application right now. I've added a bunch of buttons, so elevated button, some text button, and a filled and an outline button, and also a selector type of button there to just like see how the colors would affect them. So I'll start off inside my material app by adding or specifying the theme property. So I'll type in theme and then give it the theme data that I talked about. Here, the easiest way that I talked about was, using from seed when you are generating this color scheme, because it is the only correct way when doing it for Material 3. So you'll add that color scheme from seed and you'll give it a seed color. It would be orange in our case, and it would make everything change colors in a way that would be convenient. So it would generate a palette for you. It would take those colors, and depending on whatever component is being targeted, it would change the color of it. So you notice that the elevated button should have like a lighter shade, whereas the filled button would have a darker shade. So it does that on its own. Similarly, that was the light theme. So it was like only for the, if your theme mode is in light mode, it would show that. But you can also similarly specify a dark theme. So inside your theme data, again you would type in color scheme and give it a from seed. It will be orange, but you will set the brightness to dark, and you can change the theme mode to dark to view the changes that are there on screen right now. So you'll notice, like, again, it generates a color scheme which is a bit darker, and it would adapt to that, creating that dark mode for your Flutter applications. But as Flutter developers, we might want to override a bunch of things here. So let us say the elevated button, you don't like the color of it. You can again go back to your theme data, and inside that create like a elevated button theme, which would have like a bunch of properties. In my case, I want to change the style, and here I can specify a new background color if I want to. So I'll use the material state property, which I'll talk about in a bit, and set it for all the states to a red color, and also change the foreground color to have like a much better shade, which would be white in my case. And with that done, everything else remains the same except for the elevated button, which changes. Again, this is the filled button. So this still gets the orange shade that we have for the whole of the Flutter application, but the elevated button theme would become red. And these small changes you can do if you want to, make a particular component have some particular properties. So in my case, I only modified the elevated button, but you can do that for a bunch of other theme options that are available to you to do. So when starting a new project, you would likely focus a lot more here. You would want your color scheme to match that with the one that is provided by the designer. You would want certain elements, like if you want an elevated button to be in a certain color foreground and background, you would do that, and that is all can be done with that theme data property. Again, this material state property allows you to do a bunch of dynamic styling. So let us say if you wanted a button to have a different color when pressed, you can change the state dot pressed. You can resolve it with a fallback color. Like in my case, I'll use purple as the fallback. So for all other states that are not accounted for, I can return this purple color, and you would see like a effect like this. When you click on the button, it would change colors. I think this is also helpful when you're building applications for web. So you can set a hover property. So when you hover over the button, it would have a different color. That would be really cool. So again, like I talked about a lot of things. The first thing that I talked about was when you're building out a application, you want to specify a color scheme. But I told you that the easiest way to do it was from the seed color. But you might not agree with me in that case, because you don't know what color would come up for a particular component. You don't want the background color to be a light shade of orange. You want it to be black or white or something like that. While you can modify that, you can also use the color scheme dot class to build out a color scheme of your own. There are online tools available that let you do this with very ease. So there is, of course, the material theme builder, which is like the official. It's available officially on the m3material.io dash theme dash builder. So you can access it there. It looks something like this. It would show you how your material app looks and behaves. But again, there are also a lot of people in the community. That is why I love Flutter, because a bunch of people see something wrong with it and they come up with solutions. So there is Material Mike. If you know him from Twitter, he has built out Flex Color Scheme, which makes it really easy to identify what colors you want to use inside your Flutter application. So this is based on the same idea as the color scheme itself, and Flex Color Scheme ensures that all the UI components get this custom color as provided. If you can do me a favor, please take a picture of this and retweet and tag RYD Mike there. I'll also share his Twitter handle later. But his package essentially lets you do that. And if you'll have a look on the website itself, this is how the theme playground looks. It comes with a bunch of effective colors that you want to use, and it will generate a complete palette for you. And you can go down to And you can use this emulator option to also see like how the different colors would look like inside your Flutter application. So when you are dealing with complex color schemes, so when you're dealing with complex color schemes, this package, the themes playground, come into help. And you can do this with maybe a designer friend of yours who would help you with all the different colors that are there, how they should look inside your Flutter application, and modify the components as such. So design systems are not only type of like color schemes. Of course, there is a bunch of things that you might want to modify, starting with typography. So you want a certain font to be there inside your Flutter application. For that, again, you have a property that you can work on, which is text theme in our case. And if you see the changes within material 3 and material 2 type scale, you would see like there are a bunch of properties that are available to modify. There's display large, display medium, display small, and a bunch of these properties that you can read from here. This image might not be very clear, but you can read it on their M3 type scale, like on the Material IO website. So inside our theme data, again, I'll show you how to do this in code. Inside your theme data, we'll specify the text theme, which would take in this text theme, and you can give it a particular type scale that you want to work on. So in our case, I'll go with display large. Now you can add the different font size that you want to use, the different colors if you want it, and a lot of these properties as they are available in textile itself. So let us say like the largest display, for the largest display, I want it to be a font size of 96 and a font weight which is like a bit bold, and the color should be black. So it would do that for me. And now if I go back to my Flutter application, like I want to use that display large theme inside my Flutter app. So I'll type in two text widgets inside a column, which would be hello world. One would be normal and one would be styled. And to this styled widget, I can use this display large by calling in theme.offContext, which is like how you access themes inside your Flutter elements widgets, and then you can type in text theme.display large, and you would see the difference here. The hello world normal would be the normal text without the theme, and the one here would be the display large, the text with the display large theme applied to it, which is like font size 96, a bit bolder, and also with the color black. So there is also another property to learn here, which is theme data.copy with. Let us say you added this theme to your theme data, but you don't want to like, modify it for a particular widget. You want some other changes that you want to add. So you can quickly use dot copy with on this particular theme value and change it to maybe like a different color. So you can type in color and modify that property here and change it to red. So the same black text that you saw here would change to red because you have modified the theme to have that color. Again, I think I forgot to add a slide for that. But generally, whenever a Flutter widget, it's getting its style, it first looks for the style inside its widget component itself. So it would look there. If it doesn't find something to style it with, it would go back to the theme data that is available inside the material app. If it doesn't find there also anything, it would fall back to the default styles that we have for material. So that is why material is helpful. It would give it some default styles to fall back on, and that is why if you want a few changes there, here and there, you can do them at the widget level. Although I would recommend modifying the theme as such, like it does everything for you, so you don't have to do that at the widget level again and again. So again, talking about this, the copy with is good for like doing small minor changes like changing the color. It is not like it would not allow you to change like a property that is there. So you can, for example, not make a light theme dark by setting brightness to brightness dark using copy with. So that would not work. It is always helpful only for smaller changes that are there, like changing the color, changing the font size a bit, all those smaller changes. So that would bring me to theme extensions, which is new with Flutter 3. These were introduced recently, and I would recommend you watching Craig's video on this on the Flutter YouTube channel, because that was more extensive than I can ever be, and also reading the docs maybe. So theme extensions solve this limitation of not being able to, access the Flutter theming engine with your custom properties. And it will finally help you build a design system that uses this Flutter theming engine. Also, like, add your colors for different use cases. So let us say you have a bunch of semantic colors that you want to add. What are semantic colors? A bunch of you might ask. So these are like smaller colors that you add for warning something is going okay. You might need semantic colors for code highlighting. So if you work on that stuff, you might have like a bunch of graphs and you want to show like a legend. So you'll have semantic colors for that. And if you want to add those to your Flutter apps with theme extensions, it is possible now. So what happens is, right now, if you use the color scheme, in that all the 30 colors that are there, you only have one possible semantic color, which is the one for error, which is almost always a different shade of red. So if you want to have like a custom semantic color, let me show you how to do that. Again, we'll start off with the theme. Inside our theme, we'll use our theme data.copy with and add an extension. So you can add like multiple extensions with different colors or different properties that they modify. In my case, I'll go with the my colors theme extension, which would take in a brand color. And since I'm talking about semantic colors, it would also take in a danger color. So I'll do that quickly. And with this done, I'll have my theme data using that theme extension that we have built out. But now I also want to create this theme extension that we have here. So I'll type in the code for that. And what I'll do is I'll start off something like this. My colors, which that I just added to the theme, it would extend this theme extension of the type my colors again. And inside this, I'll first create brand color and danger. And then I would have to override two different methods. One is copy with and the other is lerp. So I'll copy, I'll take the values that we have specified inside the theme extension. And I'll also have to override the lerp method, which would be used for like seamless transition between the different themes. And it would just, make it possible for you to move from one theme to other. It interpolates this with other theme extension objects, and it ensures that a smooth transition is possible. And that way I would have like a theme extension ready. So again, like, you can go back to your theme data and simply add your theme extension that you just created and pass in the brand color that you have and the danger color, and it would add this extensions. And instead of using the default color scheme that it created, it would use your theme extension for a change. So finally, to end this talk, let me summarize what all we talked about, because it was a bunch of things and it might get lost in translation. But we talked about how, you have a design system where you talk to a designer, they come up with a bunch of colors that you have to use. You have a color light and a color dark mode, and this will be provided to you. And then you want to generate a color scheme, because material 3 accepts color schemes. It comes with a bunch of 30 colors. You can't modify all of them. So you generally end up using like a seed color that you start out your application with. But if there is a case where you want to do this, you can do it, because there are packages available by the community. There's the material official website that lets you check how the different colors look. So you would create a color scheme, you would pass it to the theme data. But you can not only pass the color scheme, you can also add a text theme that you want. So text theme would come with its styling. It would have all the material 3 type scale options that we have, like body large, body small, display small, and all of those that were there in the presentation. You can add a text theme. You can add a components theme. So we talked about the elevated button. You can modify that elevated button to have like different material state properties. And you can also add extensions that you want for like semantic colors and all that. So this would constitute your design system options that we have available. And then you would package these, and then you would pass it as a theme property to your material app. And that is it. Like that is the basic way to do it, to add like the design system that you have to your material app and use it that way. So that is it for my talk. I am Aditya Thakur. If you like this talk, reach out to me on Twitter and I would be happy to help you there with any questions. Thanks so much again.